Welcome to On the Way, a podcast about life. But not just any life, it's about life with Jesus. Why do people follow Jesus, and how do they get started? And what difference does following Jesus make in their lives? Before Christians had a name, they were known as people of the way, people who followed Jesus' teachings. People have been on the way for nearly 2,000 years now. During the podcast, we explore the ways that people become followers of Jesus and why, and what difference following Jesus makes in their lives. On the Way is produced by the Baptist Standard, a donor-supported provider of news, opinion, and resources for living like Jesus. I'm Eric Black, editor of the Baptist Standard. I'm glad you're with us today. We have with us today Jana Pinson. She's the executive director of the Pregnancy Center of the Coastal Bend, which is in the Corpus Christi area, and we'll let her tell us more about the Pregnancy Center in the podcast. She's also a board member on the Baptist Standard Board of Directors, and so we're glad to have you with us, Jana. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. It's so fun to be here. What a wonderful opportunity to share Christ this way. This is awesome.
Yeah. So it's a good segue. You've touched on the purpose of the podcast, which is to share how you became a follower of Jesus and what difference following Jesus makes in your life. So I'm going to go ahead and let people in on something from the start, that you do come from a ministry family. Mm-hmm. So I'll say that much. But having said that, how did you become a follower of Jesus?
Well, by starting by saying I come from a ministry family, that usually means there's more challenges than the normal person. But I did. I had one of those beautiful childhoods that wasn't rich in money or rich in material things, but was rich in faith and rich in sharing Christ and learning how to do it and being modeled how to do it. My dad was a pastor. And when he surrendered to the ministry, he moved the whole family from Southern California to Shawnee, Oklahoma. And if that wasn't a culture shock, my mom's my hero for that. And when he started OBU, I started first grade. So we kind of went through all of that together, and it had its pluses and its minuses. Its pluses, I learned how to paper mache a door shut by second grade. So all those college influences were wonderful for me. But then as we grew and he pastored, and you see the good and the bad and the heartbreaking, I think the thing I'm most thankful for is that my parents included us in the ministry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. When someone died, we all went to the hospital. It wasn't the church taking dad away from the family. And I think that's the difference in ministers' families. So they literally raised us in ministry and taught us how to love that next person, that broken person, that unlovable person. And sometimes that unlovable person was a deacon in the church, right? So
I'm not going to comment.
Right, I'll comment on that.
Okay.
So it was beautiful. And, you know, as a teenager, I surrendered my life. Actually, my cousin was preaching a revival, and his name is Rodney Reeves. And he was young and preaching a revival, and I felt the Lord stirring my heart to surrender my life to full-time Christian ministry, and I didn't know what that would look like. And then I went to college, had this phenomenal experience at college, because college is where the pastor's kids and the missionary kids either go off or go deep. And under the incredible leadership of John Randalls and View Baptist Church, we had an intense discipleship program that really, you know, it's amazing. There were about 40 of us that got married during that time. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
And almost every couple is still in ministry and following Christ in an incredible way. I mean, that's amazing. That shows the difference in discipleship in your life versus just attending church.
Yeah.
And but my one huge goal was like never be a pastor's wife. That was goal. So my husband,
because you knew all about being in a pastor's family.
It was like I did my time. I'm out.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Right.
I did my time. I'm out.
You're off the hook.
I'm off the hook. And then my wonderful husband just promised me when he proposed to me that there was no way he was going to be a professor and there was no way he would ever pastor. And I said, okay, I'm in. And today he's a pastor. So,
And how long has he been a pastor?
about 18 years.
Yeah, okay.
About 18 years. And he's also a professor. But
He didn't entirely break his promise.
right.
Yeah.
No, he completely did. We're just
Okay.
gonna go with that.
Okay.
So here we are, ministering, having kids, which is a huge ministry in itself, right? Raising your kids
Yeah.
to believe in Jesus, to follow Jesus, to be half the parents that my parents lived by faith, and they taught. Not many kids can say their parents lived by faith and taught them to live by faith, but that's what my parents excelled at. And they had this ministry where they ministered to that one person in front of them. They didn't care about growing a huge church. They didn't care about masses. They cared about that one person that was broken in front of them, and they poured out. And that's the kind of pastor my husband is. And that's what I get to do at the pregnancy center. It's that one person that's broken, that if you can bring Christ there and they can see the difference in hopelessness and hope, that's incredible. That's like a life well lived.
Between college and where you are now, the pregnancy center, you were doing something else. Now you had given your life to the Lord and to ministry, whatever that might look like. You said yourself that you did not expect that to look like being married to a pastor. So, what did you expect that to look like?
Well, initially,
let me back up, because you said you didn't know what it would look like. So, what did you expect to be doing when you graduated from college?
I started in as an accounting major. And so I
Okay.
had all these great ideas that as an accounting major, I would go on tour with bands and be their band accountants.
Okay.
So I wasn't the normal,
What bands were you looking to tour with?
Christian bands, because I was in love with Amy Grant back in the day. And I was like,
Okay.
she needs an
Petra?
accountant traveling with her, right?
Okay.
So then I was working at a bank and they took me to an auditor's convention because I was going to be their auditor when I graduated, is what their plan for my life was.
Okay.
And I went, and they were all in blue suits, and they all were like chain smokers. And I was like, I can't do this.
Which part did you not go along with? The
Right,
suits or the
well,
smoke?
One of them.
Okay. Okay.
Not
Okay.
gonna.
Okay.
So, literally, my senior year, I flipped and went to marketing. And so I had this strong accounting background, but I flipped and went to marketing and fell in love. Back in the day, my brother was really creative. My sister was very artistic and creative. And I was the kid that had none of it. In fact, my mother would say, it's so crazy what Jana's doing, because she was the least creative kid of my whole bunch. And I was like, it's true.
Thanks, Mom.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
true, because all glory goes to God, because I prayed and I said, God, if you would make me even a little bit creative, I would use it all for you. Just make me a little bit creative. And going into marketing and learning how to creatively think and put things together. And my first job out of college was working for Word Records and music. And
yeah.
so I
Yeah.
got to put all that together with them. And then I did large outdoor events. I was with an event company where we closed Ranger Stadium, opened the ballpark in Arlington, did Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival. So it gave me this phenomenal creative outlet. But my heart of hearts wanted to use it for the Lord in some way, some shape. And with Word I did. But learning how to do large events and things like that and share Christ along the way. So for a while I thought maybe God had me in the secular world to share Christ as I went. But then we got pregnant. And I say we because Grover was definitely pregnant. We needed to flip our life. And So we moved to Corpus Christi where he could work with his family and I could still work long distance. And we could figure out what it means to be parents, which was huge for us because that wasn't on my agenda. That wasn't a goal. And I was foolish
Being
for
parents wasn't
it. It was not a goal for me.
Okay.
Grover would say it was for him, but it wasn't for me. I loved my career. I loved working, and that was short-sighted and foolish. I find now for me, because there has been nothing that has been richer or more amazing than parenting two beautiful, adorable daughters. And now we're empty nested, and I'm like, bring it back. Give me a baby. So maybe that's part of why I love what I'm doing.
Okay. Yeah.
So that launched ministry. He started pastoring. I started putting up my boundaries of as a pastor's wife, this is what I will not do.
Okay.
And then I did it all.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't play the piano, but I cook. And we went into our church that we've been at for 16 years. They were broken. And probably because of my background, the thing that breaks my heart most is friction in the church, is brokenness in the church. It hurts my heart so deeply when the body of Christ is divided. And this church had gone through a huge split, and they were broken. And there were these elderly people that were there who had kept the church together through great emotional sacrifice to themselves. And so Grover, in Grover fashion, had said, I'll come for $1. And I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah, wait.
My parents raised me in faith, but I didn't want to keep it going here. And of course they didn't have him, but he was willing to go. And he told me, he said, Jana, if God's call on our life is to love this group and to just love them until heaven, that's a worthy pastoral call. And of course it didn't work out that way, but that's how we went in. And so we went in cooking for them. And so our church had lunch together every Sunday until COVID.
Yeah.
And so we shared lunch, and a lot of times we have a homeless ministry as well. And so a lot of times, so that was part of my ministry that I would have done. This is my thing, is if I would have done it in a church anyway, then I can do it as a pastor's wife. So that's something I would have done in any church that I would have been part of. Yeah. And so it was beautiful to see the unity that comes from breaking bread together, fellowshipping together, and doing dishes afterwards together.
We're going to take a sponsor break, and we'll be right back.
Since 1952, South Texas Children's Home Ministries has focused on healing hearts and sharing hope. Their 9 ministries focus on helping hurting children and families, all regardless of an individual's ability to pay. To find out more, visit www.stchm.org.
Okay, I want to go back to something you just said, and I know that you don't want to speak for other pastor couples, for pastors' spouses, wives, but it seems like there's a word in there about what you just said, that if I wasn't willing to do it in the church anyway, then I wasn't going to do it as a pastor's wife. So the fact that you're in a place that allows you to be who you are and to do what you would do anyway, what word is in there for other pastor couples?
So, I think sometimes the expectation of you should do this, you should do that, weighs really heavy. I think the hardest part of being a pastor's wife is hearing people talk to your kids in a way that is ungodly and wrong. And so I knew all that, and I knew how to protect my kids. I knew not to take them to Wednesday night business meetings ever. And
I thought it was just because they're boring.
Right? No.
Yeah. Okay.
Because unfortunately, Baptist Wednesday night business meetings are never boring. Unfortunately. But Grover going into a broken church, one of the things he did that huge hero point here was our church didn't do the majority. Like, it wasn't a majority rule. It was 100%. It was a small church. So if one person disagreed with something, one person,
You didn't do it.
because of the pain and because of everything they'd been through, he just tabled it and he spent time with that person and he worked with that person. And not a lot of people do that. So back to your question. Grover gives me so part of it is having a husband that gives you the freedom to be who you are. But we were, like in many churches, just as congregants, right? And very involved. I mean, Vacation Bible School is my deal. I love sharing Christ with kids and making it an experience. And so, not because I'm a pastor's wife, but because I'm Jana Pinson, I'm going to head up Vacation Bible School. I'm going to do hospitality. Those are who I am. But when someone starts pushing you to a place where they're like, because you're the pastor's wife, you should, blah, blah, blah. Everything in me, probably from childhood wounds, I don't know. And I think every pastor's wife should be given the latitude to be themselves, whatever that looks like. I'm not musical. I don't do those things that typically fit into that box. But there's certain things that bring me joy. And so finding those things, that's the word I would use is, for every pastor's wife, find what gives you joy before your Father, not before your husband and not before the church, but before your Father. And do that well, as if you're not the pastor's wife. And it brings great, great joy then, because it's not an obligation. It's a giving of your heart. And I think that's, I met a lot of husbands and wives, pastors and wives at seminary, and the wives weren't called into ministry. Just the husband was. Yeah. And I would encourage any woman married to a husband to be before the Lord and to ask God where their calling is. Because even if it's not inside the church, if it's somewhere else, if he called the husband and the two become one, there's a calling there. You just haven't figured it out. And so many people have said things for you, you've probably closed the door to it. So open that door back up. Just you and the Father. I mean, find out where your calling is, and it may be something that no one ever sees, and do that. But don't separate yourself from ministry completely, because if he called, it will hurt your family. It will hurt your family if one is called and one is not. Be called together.
It definitely creates a strain.
I think that's why pastors' kids, seriously. I went to college and I went, why do some rebel and some not? Why are missionary kids, some rebelling and some are deep, 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 deep amazing? What's the difference? So I did my own little research project, because I'm all about research. And I really feel like the families, the pastors' families, that made it the whole family was ministering versus the church took my dad away. Made a huge difference.
Yeah. Wow.
Jesus is what it turns out to be. Jesus took my dad away. You never want that.
No, it kind of hits me hard.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So you and Grover have had a really rich ministry at the church that you serve. And along the way, at a certain point, you got involved in the pregnancy center. I'm going to go ahead and jump to that.
Okay.
How did that come about? Because I remember you saying not too long ago, just a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact, that being a parent was not on your agenda.
It wasn't.
And then it became your agenda to a certain extent. That's intriguing.
My pregnancy with Teddy was a surprise pregnancy, and it took me the entire 9 months to transform. People would come up and touch you, and you would go, no, step away. No, that's not okay. And it took me a while. And you know what? I'm thankful for those 9 months of being a brat, of having to work through it, and because birth was about the most holy thing I've ever experienced. It transformed Grover. It transformed me. The actual birth and seeing the miracle of what God did and the way he transformed our lives through a beautiful life was absolutely life-changing. The downside of it too, the consequence of I just say this for me, I don't say this for anyone else going through that, but for me it was phenomenal selfishness. It was an absolute self-centeredness. And I see that a lot in the center. But it was a self-centeredness, but I knew if I was pregnant, I had to do it right. I knew it meant all on, so job was going to have to take a back seat, and I was going to have to do the absolute best job I could do. So that's when we moved. I homeschooled my kids. So I went from, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant, to a homeschool mom. I want to say I was a different kind of homeschool mom than what you might think. And we had a blast, and it was the joy of my life, watching them learn and grow. And it was phenomenal. But when my youngest was a junior, I had been really close to the pregnancy center. Several of my friends worked there. They had asked me to come in and do finances for them at one point. And so I was in and out and in and out. And then they had an opening for client services director. And they approached me, and Grover and I prayed about it. And Jackie was still a junior, and I really wanted to finish out because I was teaching classes, but she was doing fantastic. So we decided as a family that this may be the time to do it. So it was really funny because when they hired me, they were like, now I know you're a marketing person, but we really don't want any of that. We just want you, the pastor's wife. I've always worked with youth. I've always loved youth. Discipling youth is my heart. It's just my heart of hearts in every church that I've ever been in. And so to get to be in the counseling room, I mean, my favorites were the 14, 15, 16-year-olds. I'm like, the other volunteers would go, oh no,
yeah.
Here. And I'm like, she's mine. And so it was beautiful to be in that counseling room. Now, I never was this crazy, I believed in voting against abortion. I didn't believe in abortion, but it wasn't something where I marched and I held signs, and I'd never seen it from the inside like now. And God just grew me. When you think about it, so I'd come home from work, and Grover would say, hey, how's your day? I'm like, 3 babies saved. 3 babies saved. It was phenomenal. 2 people accepted Jesus. Like, how beautiful is this? And then I'd say, how was your day, babe? Well, there's marriage problems, and the air conditioner at the church is broken. And, it's like,
Yeah.
It's just the richest every single day. So anyway, it's not a ministry that I had ever seen myself being part of, but it's one I can never see myself not being part of. Like, I will do this when I'm 90. I will do this until I die. I think it's the most rewarding, amazing. When you hold a baby that almost wasn't here, and I tell people all the time, we have 30 staff. We really have 36 when we count our resale shop. We have 30 staff. We have 5 locations. And if all of those resources came together and one life was saved that year, one life, just one, it'd be worth it. Like, completely worth it. If it took 30 of us and 5 locations to save one life, to give one life a chance to not be aborted in the safest place on earth, a mother's womb, or it should be, then it would be worth it. But to get to see so many more than that is just a blessing.
We're going to take a 60-second sponsor break, and we'll be right back. High Ground Advisors has a 90-year history of providing investment management and planned giving solutions to churches, faith-based organizations, and charitably minded individuals dedicated to transforming lives. High Ground is trusted by over 450 nonprofit clients, and we're one of them. High Ground has partnered with Baptist Standard for over 70 years by offering a comprehensive charitable giving and investment solutions model, which includes asset management, planned giving education and development, account support services, real estate and minerals management, and expert legal consultation. High Ground and the Baptist Standard share similar values, such as serving those who are called and dedicated to transforming lives and being a trusted caretaker of legacies. They also value good stewardship, helping those who desire to be good stewards of their financial resources to find creative giving solutions to fulfill that calling. They know what they do to protect, strengthen, and grow our mission is ultimately in service to the gospel. To learn more about how High Ground Advisors can partner with you or your organization, visit their website at highgroundadvisors.org.
So for those who are not familiar with how a pregnancy center works, like yours, and what services you provide, what goes on there, describe what a pregnancy center like yours is like and what you do.
So I get the incredible opportunity to have abortion-minded and abortion-minded and abortion-vulnerable girls. And let me tell you what that means. We have girls that come in and the only thing they see is an abortion. Like that's the only thing on their list. Then we have girls that come in and they're undecided. They could be a teenager excited to be pregnant, but they haven't told their parents yet. So all of that group goes into abortion vulnerable.
Okay.
And we get the opportunity to counsel them and give them what an abortion looks like in a very tender, loving way. We build a relationship with them. We tell them this is what adoption looks like, this is what parenting looks like, and this is what abortion looks like. They don't understand abortion. They don't know anything about abortion. And the abortion clinic isn't going to tell them. The stories we get from the abortion clinics from the girls will break your heart. So then we take them and we give them a free pregnancy test. And we are loving them all the way through it. We're going, it's okay. We got this. They're like terrified. Then we went with a positive pregnancy test. We take them in to the ultrasound. We have the most amazing ultrasound that does the most beautiful 3D pictures at like 8 weeks and 9 weeks. And it's stunning. We have one of the best ultrasounds in the city, and we have 4 of them. So we have one in Portland, one in Rockport, they're all state of the art. And when they see that heartbeat, they hear that heartbeat, they see that baby moving in the womb. We just opened a new center in Rockport, and I just happened to be there for this girl that walked in determined to abort for reasons that the world would look at and go, oh yeah, she needs to abort. When we did the ultrasound, this baby had the longest arms I've ever seen on any baby ever. It was like the longest arms. And I went, is your boyfriend tall? She goes, oh my goodness, he has the longest arms you've ever seen. And there it was on the screen for her to see. God works miracles during those pictures. And it's amazing. So she chose life for that baby under the worst of circumstances, and it is the joy of her life. And that's what we do, is we try to help them see at the end of an abortion, there's emptiness, there's death, there's brokenness. At the end of birth, there's joy, there's we can do this. Family is born. It's beautiful and it's amazing, but it's really hard for her to see that in those initial moments of pregnancy. So then what we do is we have parenting classes with more clothes and diapers and cribs and strollers and absolutely everything this girl could ever need or want. We have access to it. And she comes in and she does parenting classes and she earns points. And many of our clients have never bought a diaper, ever. They get extra points if they come a second time during the week for Bible study. So they can come twice a week, once for the parenting classes and once for a Bible study. Sometimes it's a group Bible study. If they've had an abortion, we want to help them heal that abortion because that affects how you parent. An abortion absolutely affects how you end up parenting. So we want them to heal. So we'll take them through abortion healing and help them be the strongest parent that they possibly could be. And there's nothing like it. And the bonus to us is they're bringing their babies in. We get to hold their babies. And so those ones that are really hard and they choose abortion, and we've fallen in love. We just had a girl. She was out of San Antonio and she called us. So we never met her face to face, but we connected with her so strong. And at 30 weeks, she went to New Mexico and had an abortion. And it broke all of us. It broke all of us because the guy was so intense. I mean, what we hear from guys telling them, you're so mentally messed up, you could never be a good parent. You're so this, you're so that. There's no way you are worthy. There's no way that you would be good. There's no way, and so they have all these voices from the outside, and they need a group of people from the inside saying, you are strong, you are courageous. We can do this and we can help you. Together, we will do this. And it's just the most beautiful ministry on the planet. So I will say 575, we're having our banquet tonight and we're celebrating. We always light candles for the lives that were saved in a year. And in 2020, such a hard year, 575 moms that were abortion vulnerable or abortion minded chose life for their babies. 575. Think about that. In 18 years, we're going to have a high school class, huge high school class, full of these babies that were redeemed, that were loved, that were celebrated. We meet girls every day that regret their abortion, every single day. But I have yet to meet one that has regretted their child. Ever. Once they've given birth, no matter what they've been through, it's powerful and it's transforming. I know that the birth of my children transformed me in an incredible way, in a way I never thought that I would be that person. And God just does, he shows up and he does this incredible work. Can you tell I love it? Well, let me tell you one more thing. Let me tell you one more thing. Another thing that we do is we have a resale shop. And the beauty of the resale shop is we hire our mamas. So when they come in and they say, there's no way I can do my job and have a baby. And we're like, we can give you a job. And they bring their babies to work. They baby wear them. They push them in strollers. They're pricing clothes. They build a community. No one ever leaves that job. They love, in fact, we just hired one of them to be a pregnancy center worker. Because she is just so beautiful and has grown in her faith, and her baby is old enough that can go to a friend's house now. And so that's another arm of this incredibly beautiful ministry.
So it sounds like the relationships that you build with these young women and others in their family sometimes or in their circle, it's not a 9-month relationship.
Oh, no.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's less than that. But it sounds like some of these relationships are long-term.
Oh, yeah. So they'll stay with us. We have clothes up to like 3T, as long as they're in diapers generally. But generally, while one's getting out of diapers, the next pregnancy has started. We've had men get on their knees and propose at our, because we're encouraging them towards marriage. We've had so many beautiful moments. The statistics are kind of crazy, that if it's a single mom, the chances of their child living in poverty is about 37%. If it's a single mom with someone living with them, a man, but they're living together but not married, the chance of the child living in poverty is 42% with 2 income earners. But in a marriage, the chances of them living in poverty is 7%.
And we'll have links to those statistics on the episode webpage, so you can check those out there.
The commitment is so huge. I love the Jim Dennison article. that she posted today. Absolutely. I mean, marriage is, it's not just a thing to live together everyone says, well, we should live together for 2 years. And then they never make it past the 2 years. When if they had started with the commitment and with the covenant, it would have been life-changing for them. So same thing with children. There's so many ways churches can support these girls. It's important, so important, that the churches embrace life. And it's heartbreaking when I have a conversation with someone. I mean, God is the author of life. It's very clear in Scripture. I don't know how you can believe Scripture, right, and not know that God is the author of life. And oftentimes the argument is rape. And let me tell you, come spend a day with me. A girl who's been raped, who chooses life, it heals that violent rape. It heals it. The joy of that baby, the beauty of that baby, even if they don't know what they're going to do and they go all the way to the hospital, and then at birth, like my experience at birth, transforms them. But they're not still, that rape hurt. That rape hurt a lot. But what God did with this baby heals that rape for them in a way that counseling never could, never, ever could. Now, when they choose abortion after rape, it immortalizes their pain. The memory of that baby, most women who have abortions, depending on if they do a pill or if they do surgical, they have memories, they have visions, they have so many memories of that baby, because we're connected cellularly. I think that's where we get women's intuition. Sorry, guys. But that's where we're cellularly connected to our babies, whether we miscarry, whether we abort, or whether they birth, and whether or not we choose adoption. Forever and ever, we're connected cellularly to those babies. I just pray churches will just, let me tell you, a way churches support us that I love so much. Not only do they put us in their budget, but some churches with staff members, with like their youth director, their education director, they let them spend 4 hours a week serving at the pregnancy center and talking to men about, the man has the strongest voice in this girl's life. And if he really loves her, he will fight for that baby, and he will fight because when he sees the impact that it will have on her, he wants to protect her, and he wants to, but he doesn't know. And the culture has said, your body, you're right? You don't have a voice in this. But it's 100% his baby. It's 100% hers. And to encourage him to speak for life, to speak for this life that he helped create, is a beautiful ministry. So churches loaning us their staff members for 4 hours to speak life, and they get to share Christ. And sitting in an office, do you get to do that? Not so much. So it's a beautiful way churches can really get involved in the pregnancy center movement.
Yeah, I was going to say that your pregnancy center, you have 5 locations in the Coastal Bend area, so Rockport, Corpus Christi area, but there are other pregnancy centers around Texas and other states, and these are places where churches can be involved directly in an issue that is that we say is important to us. Right. And so these are concrete ways and places that people can get involved. So would you say that they should contact their area pregnancy center to find out the specific ways they can be involved directly?
Absolutely. And if they're not getting a response, they can call me, and I will hook them up to whoever it is, the closest person to them. It is the church. It is the church that will be there for these girls. We have to disconnect from the judgment. I mean, a girl would never come to a church and say, I'm in a crisis pregnancy, because they're going to expect to be judged completely. We will train you. We will teach you how to love in the name of Jesus without showing anything on your face of judgment. And most people judge because they don't understand. You get them behind it. We had one girl who was going to abort because her mom needed a kidney transplant, and she was going to donate hers. In the process of the test, they found out she's pregnant. Wow, what a decision. There's some really, really, really intense decisions. But you know what God did? She chose life. Mama got better because of the joy of a grandbaby, her first grandbaby. And it was this beautiful, beautiful picture. And she just got better and better and better. And she was there for her grandbaby. And then they could make decisions after that birth. God works miracles between our walls and under our roof. And for pastors to get involved with it is everything. We're the ones who built hospitals, right? We're the ones who build maternity homes. Your pregnancy center desperately needs you.
I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah. Jana, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Well, we're certainly glad that you and Grover and your family are on the way with Christ.
It's a beautiful journey. Beautiful journey. Long obedience in the same direction.
Just because a person follows Jesus doesn't mean that person is perfect. Following Jesus is a lifetime of growing more like Him. Likewise, while there are followers who are more mature than others, who have spent more time growing close to Jesus than other followers, there are no followers of Jesus who are better than others. If you aren't on the way with Jesus, we invite you to check out the Follow Jesus page on the Baptist Standard website at baptiststandard.com/Follow Jesus to learn more about becoming a follower of Him. If you are on the way with Jesus, we hope that this podcast has encouraged you to grow more like Him. I'm Eric Black, editor of the Baptist Standard, and I'm glad you've been with us today.